We pushed out the digital version of Market Forces TCG. It's free to play. The pre-order for the physical units are going to happen in July, but wanted to get folks familiar with how the game works and show you how you could just jump in and get started. Once you've passed the sign-in page, created your account, you're going to see the setup screen. And here's where you can choose your investor. If this is the first time you've played, the only investor you'll be able to use is Larry Luncheon. But each investor comes with a static ability that basically works every round. And so think of your investor as you would a commander in Magic the Gathering or a legend in Riftbound. It's sort of on the board, impacting your play and helps you to sort of maybe get benefits. If you're building your deck around that investor, you'll get some added bonuses maybe, right? Here on the setup screen, you could choose one of the pre-built metas. I also have a deck that I've built. You could build any deck you like, and here in the sort of deck builder feature, you can see most of the set of cards, and you really just need to choose at least 30 cards or more. The max you could have of any card is 3. It gives you some optionality to where you could have both investments, strategies, and tactics. Those are the 3 card types that you play from your hand. And let's go back. I'm going to choose the Rush. We're actually going to stick with just a mono sector of collectibles, and in this case I'm going to choose Vichandra. And the reason why I'm pairing these 2 decks is she gets an added advantage of 1 wealth if you control fewer sectors than your opponent. So that 1 wealth, you're really playing to a target number each turn, and we're going to play just to 10 for fun for the demo, but you would play to 10, 15, 20, 25 depending on the game and the format. But this is a really powerful combo. So 1 sector, she's going to get a bonus every time as long as the opponent has more sectors than we do. So I'll show you what that looks like. We're going to hit deal flow. We happen to be playing Larry Luncheon, and Larry gets benefits if he's playing with fixed income or equity, where if they have a positive return, they get an extra liquidity token, which allows them to sort of build more investments over time. So that's the advantage for Larry. So starting out, when you look at your hand, this is our hand below here. We've got 5 cards, plus you draw 1 each round. You can play any token from your hand as a liquidity token, and you play that card face down into your what we'll call a bank zone. But once you've played that card, you'll never be able to play it again. So you do want to be careful about or thoughtful about which cards you're choosing to play as liquidity. So in this case, I'm going to play Panic Hedge as a liquidity token. And I want to get off to hopefully a hot start and play Intellectual Property, which is a collectibles investment that gives me a +3. So what's going to happen here is we're going to hit done building. Before we reveal the market movement card, what sort of like impacts our investments, there is a strategy phase. You also use liquidity to play strategies. We don't have any in our hand, and we don't really have any spare liquidity right now. So we're just going to move forward. We're going to hit flip the market to see what the market movement was. And so we've got a global trade rift. And here it shows you that commodities are up, collectibles are down, everything else is flat, and tapped liquidity doesn't untap next turn. So that might hurt us in terms of adding new investments. But the good news is both Larry and our Vichandra investor were negative for the round. So there's a tie. Now, if you win the round, you actually win an additional liquidity token. If you lose the round, you draw an extra card, so you get a little more card advantage. But the winner will go first in the following rounds. So here we go, resolve, start next round. I'm going to add another liquidity token since that last one was tapped from the previous turn. And again, I'm going to lean into sort of a high vol collectible strategy. Hit done building, done with strategy, flip the market. Gosh, collectibles are down again. In this case, Larry Luncheon looks to have added a digital assets investment, but it's only a 1 return, so still going to be negative on their end too. The only way to earn wealth is to have positive performance that's better than 0 and better than your opponents, but they have to be better than 0 too. So if you had like a -2 return and they had a -12, you don't get 10 wealth units. You have to be net positive. So we're going to hit resolve. Next round, here we go. I'm going to hit liquidity again. I'm going to invest all 3 here. What we really want is to have a round where collectibles go off, right? And so we'll see what happens. Flip the market. Collectibles down again. Severe cash drought. This one has an effect where no new liquidity tokens this round. So going into the next round, we won't be able to add a new liquidity token, which will hurt future growth. But again, both players are having negative performance, so there's no wealth being added. I am getting I am getting this wealth unit here from having fewer sectors than Larry Luncheon, so that is helping. So see, I just got another bump, and that's part of that static ability from the investor I chose. All right, collectibles again. Again, we're mono collectibles. We're going to jump to flip the market. Collectibles are flat. All right, we're getting a little warmer, but it looks like Larry Luncheon just netted a return difference of 2. So Larry's at 2. We've got 3. Done building. Let's scroll down. I don't have any investments I could use this turn, but I do have a strategy I could finally play. Here is monetary easing. All investments get +1 return this round. I am going to play that. Let's hope for a really big collectibles day. All right, so collectibles were flat, but the good news is because I played monetary easing, I should gain +6 here. And it looks like Larry's going to be negative. So I just got a 6 return. I'm going to be able to bank 6 wealth. Skip to resolve, and I win the game. Now, had I been short, at the end of the round, you're actually able to sell any of your investments that return positive for 1 wealth unit. So that's a choice you can make. So had I been at 9, Larry was at 2, I still could have sold one of my investments and won the game then and there. But that's how it works. We ran into a scenario where a lot of the market movements for collectibles were either flat or negative. That's not always the case. There's sort of an even amount or close to it for all sectors within the 17 market movements that you could potentially draw. So that's how it works. On the setup page, you can see the field guide. This explains the 5 sectors in detail, and also some of the game mechanics, the terms. Some of the terms you might not be familiar with, like liquidity or diversification and net return, they're explained there. When you jump into a game and you fly through your turns, we do also have an educational portion here that explains, like, fiscal stimulus. What does that mean? It tells you what fiscal stimulus is and how it impacts the various sectors, whether positive or negative. It's more generic in a way, but it's definitely helpful in explaining why certain market events affect sectors. So check that out if you're interested in learning more about how markets work.